Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics and Dynamic. Berto Willis, your host. Thank you so kindly for being here. My friend, Michael Rudnin, what's wrong, my friend? What is wrong? Is it a cold? Have you been tested? Have you been exposed? Let us know. We want to know how you're doing, brother. What's going on? Welcome aboard, Bridge MCP. You know, we care very much about our posse. Let us know what's going on, Mike. I want to know exactly what we're talking about here. Because I think this is 2 days in a row that you're saying that you don't feel very well, sir. We want you to be well and we want you to be healthy. Anyhow, we're going to have a great show. Michael Rudnin, feel better, brother. Feel better. No idea. Flu probably. You have a doctor's appointment tomorrow morning. Right. Just to make sure you're not having any serious breathing problems, are you? I need an answer to that one because there's a very important thing I need there as far as oxygen levels. So let us know. Do you have any breathing problems or you just feel tired as hell? Let us know, my brother. If you are having any breathing problems, you wait for nothing. You doggle into that emergency room, sir, because that is where we want to arrest any oxygen issues. Running, no stuffing, no hard breathing. Okay, you're fine. Okay, great. Excellent. Anyhow, folks, we're going to have a great show for you today. Look, I was up yesterday, and as I am listening to I'm getting ready to do the newsletter, right? And this message comes. I had already written an article on Hope and what they've said, and they said yesterday when Hope got infected, or they found out that she was positive. They said the president was awaiting his test. So what I wrote in the blog, that the first blog that I read, and I'm going to play that video as well, is what I wrote then was that I think there's a good possibility the president is infected. And a friend of mine said, "Why are you saying that? Why are you saying that?" And I'm like, well, they're doing they have the rapid test that is 30 to 50% negative rate. The tests that they have, I don't remember the name of the company that does the test for them, usually has a 30 to 50% negative, meaning if you're negative, the test still comes back and say, if you're positive, the test still comes back and say you're negative until there's a preponderance of, I guess, whatever the reagents need to test. And I said, oh my God, the president is going to be positive. That's what I kept on saying. So I did the video and I really gave some to the president about his irresponsibility. I'll play that later. So what I want to do is go ahead and get the show started. And today we're going to talk about there are two things that we're covering today. I wasn't going to cover the president today because I had a guy that was supposed to be the interview, but I still did that interview. Anyhow, coming in, what we got here is as follows. Trump mass spreader gets COVID, and Bernard Sampson of CPUSA, an existential message. Donald Trump has been a disguised COVID mass spreader for some time. Now he's got it. CPUSA Bernard Sampson has an important message. The chronology, as pointed out on MSNBC, is as follows. And I won't go through the chronology here because I did it in the blog. But Donald Trump has been playing Russian roulette with COVID-19 for some time. His irresponsibility, even knowing the severity, has infected the White House and likely abroad. Typo. Politics Done Right went live last night. I had a whole lot of people who had messages to say. And the interesting thing about all those messages that came across was some of them were completely negative. And my thing is this. Let me tell you how I want to conduct this thing with Donald Trump. We want to have compassion for Donald Trump, for Hope Hicks, for Melania Trump, and everybody else as human beings. In other words, they got an illness, and let's have compassion for the illness that they've gotten. But we must not give the president in his office a break for being the leader in spreading this disease by inference. In other words, by his behavior, he have allowed a whole lot of people by his behavior, he has allowed a whole lot of people who would otherwise have been careful to do better. I want to show you something, a discussion that I had, because this one got me to the core, right? It's on Facebook, so it's public already. I was thinking about whether I should show it or not, but I got upset with this one because it just shows you the problem with too many people. Let's see if I can find the thread here. I need to show you this thread because it is completely ridiculous. All right. Well, I don't want to say that the thread is ridiculous. What happens is, let's get to that thread, because what we're looking at is people that have been so maligned in their minds. Okay, here it is. I can put it on the screen now. Here it is. Oh, this I wrote after I did the blog. I say Hope Hicks was diagnosed with COVID-19 on Wednesday. She is symptomatic. Then I put, yet Trump went to a fundraiser on Thursday. So he was irresponsible, in as much as by noon he knew that she was infected. He still went ahead to a fundraiser. So I wrote that. So this person said, oh no, the sky is falling, with a whole bunch of smileys. And you can see that on the screen right now. That's what they wrote. Oh no, sky's falling. So I said, I really have given you the benefit of the doubt. I say this with respect. If you do not realize there is something fundamentally wrong with your logic, I feel sorry for your kids. This is serious. Even those who recover from this thing has lasting damage. We can minimize the infected with behavior. The president mocked it, and poetic justice is in effect. Make it a little bit larger. Poetic justice is in effect. Any adult unable to be jarred into rethinking their wrong position may need to seek counseling. I really mean this for the sake of us all. And she responded, Egberto Willis, don't worry about me. I am perfectly fine. Just because you think my logic is fundamentally flawed doesn't make it so. I could say all the same things about you. For someone as yourself to be so wrong and out of touch from reality is frightening as well. The amount of dissonance you have to perform is jarring. Do you see that is going on out there? And you are worried about my behavior? Seriously, check your flank. Look around. It isn't me. That needs to be jarred, although soon many of you may need counseling. What she's really talking about is the caricature that the Trump administration and have made of the protests that's been going on across the world. It is known that 97% of all protests are peaceful, and then we know we have some right-wing crazies and some left-wing crazies come in and they battle out, break stuff up, all that kind of stuff. But that's not what the protest is all about. But the way the videos are set up to them, and I don't blame them for being fooled. I blame them for not wanting to learn. It is okay to be fooled when your media that you respect fools you. But if somebody else bring you verifiable information that can lay the groundwork, there is absolutely no reason for you to stay in your position. She replied, so that's what I replied to her, and I said, look, your comments are known as false equivalences, my friend. I am an engineer. I only believe in math and science, and they are all on my side. But your sources of information by design have made both subject to objection. They are not. I will continue to do what I do. I do not give up on anyone. Please, no. Please, I don't want a response because right now it will be circular. Be well. And she continues giving, other information, right? But my thing is, in as much as I know she may be long gone, the reality is there are many, many people that are watching the dialogue between us. Some people that are on the fence that dialogue would be a positive, would actually make a difference. So that is the reason I dropped nobody, and even her, I would continue to try to, input some sense or try to give some sense with the expectation that at some point in time, should say, you know what, for the sake of my kids, I cannot be dense. For the sake of my kids, I have to get better. Yes, yes, Norman Reynolds. I was up at 2 a.m. I was actually doing a broadcast because I wanted it out there. I wanted people to know we are in this game. We are in this game. Anyhow, let's go ahead and continue with the show. This is very important. Let me go ahead and play the first video because the first video is about when I heard about hope, what I did. So here it goes. Forget about the election. Let's just talk governance. The irresponsibility of this president has now put our governance in the executive at risk because now the entire presidential staff and his family are now at risk of being infected. I tell you, let me go ahead and play this piece because it gives a chronology of when Hope Hicks was found to be positive. And by the way, she is symptomatic, which possibly means that she would have infected people close to the president and even maybe the president himself. But let's go ahead and listen to this because the chronology is very good, and then we'll move on from there.
And the White House realized last night, Wednesday night, got the diagnosis of Hope Hicks, who is indeed one of the president's very closest advisors. So they've known from last night that she had tested positive for the coronavirus. And let's walk through the chronology of the week. Tuesday night, she accompanied the president to the first general election debate in Cleveland. Yesterday, she was in Minnesota. She traveled with him for a couple stops in Minnesota, including a rally, traveled with him on not just Air Force One, but on Marine One. And it is protocol for staff to wear masks in the presidential helicopter, but it is extraordinarily close quarters. Hope, we're told via White House aides, is one of the White House staffers who does wear masks from time to time. A lot never do, but her mask usage is not 100%. No one is. It's not clear when exactly she might have worn the mask on Air Force One the last couple of days. And it's sort of extraordinary here. The president, just a tweet a few minutes ago, suggested that he and the First Lady were in a quarantine process. Now, I'll defer to the doctor to exactly what that means, but typically the CDC guidelines suggest quarantine could be up to 14 days, which would more or less be half of the time left before Election Day. Now, we believe, we're calling the White House and calling Trump advisors to exactly what he means. It could be that he is simply waiting for the result of another test. But that itself raises questions. They have rapid tests at the White House. Anyone who's going to come into contact with the president, and that includes members of the press pool, do get these avid rapid tests where results are usually known in about a half an hour. And that, one presumes, the president would have had already. So it stands to reason that he has had yet another test, and they're still perhaps waiting for that result. That is what he said in the tweet, one of the more accurate tests that takes a little longer, up to a few hours before they know what it is. At least for now, Brian, as a final point, the White House schedule is still full tomorrow. The president is set to go to a fundraiser here in Washington and then travel to a rally tomorrow night in Florida. I'll be part of the press pool going on that trip. Those events are still on as of now. And it should be noted, the White House knew of Hope Hicks' diagnosis Wednesday night. Today, Thursday, there was no sign of hope. But the president, who had been exposed to Hope Hicks, still traveled to a fundraiser in Bedminster, New Jersey.
Think about that. He knows he may have been infected, and he still went to a fundraiser. He doesn't like to wear masks, potentially infecting others. That is the president of the United States. All the moves that he has made has been wrong for the country. Can we really have another 4 years of this behavior, especially during a pandemic? We want the president to not to be infected, or if he's infected, to be fine. We want Hope Hicks to be fine. We want all these people to be fine. But remember, the president shows little regards for the people that are showing up at these rallies to look at him because he disregards that this virus kills. His friend, Mr. Cain, Herman Cain, was killed in Tulsa by not wearing a mask and being infected. The president is of similar age. So I can imagine right now the president is thinking about Herman Cain. And Herman Cain is a rich guy who got sick and the greenbacks weren't sufficient to keep him alive. So let's be clear here. We wish the president, the staff, the family that they survive this infection. But also, we wish that they will treat the American people with the respect, with the responsibility that being the leader of the country dictates. Because it is on the president that we have 200,000 plus dead, including some of his friends. We hope it's not now his extended family, Hope Hicks, and himself that next makes it to that list. Now, this is dangerous. Eric Echeverria, I'm going to read his whole statement. It's important that I do. Here's what Echeverria says. Hard to believe anyone is still losing their minds over testing positive for corona. COVID is not now and never was any more dangerous than the common flu, and in all likelihood, even less of a threat than the flu. The numbers of COVID deaths have been grossly and artificially inflated according to the CDC. 9 months later, and you dummies are still in a media-induced hysteria that can only be explained by having S-brains, S for brains. Get real, people. My friend, look in the mirror, Mr. Eric Echeverria. Look in the mirror, please. Because you're my friend. I need to listen. You are so misinformed. You have allowed people to put your life in danger. Before I got on to this show, there was a congresswoman who got sick. She didn't require hospitalization or anything. But just like Mara Gay as well, who is is a national writer for New York Times and otherwise, just like she was just 34-year-old, just running in New York, and she doesn't exactly know how she got it, but she got COVID-19. She is still trying to get her breath. She's still trying to get back to where she needs to be. This thing doesn't just go away for a whole lot of people. This stuff is systemic. It's not just your lungs that it damages. It damages your heart. It damages your kidneys. It damages your brain. It causes blood clots. All these things are true. Many people who are currently thinking they're okay when they do x-rays after they've had the infection, but no substantial, a lot of people are sedentary. They don't jog. They don't run. So they don't realize that their lungs are affected, or their lungs have quite a bit of scarring because of this thing. So because you don't use all of your lungs, that can get away from you. And let me tell you, folks, anybody who is telling you that lie, that this is just the common flu, they're lying to you, and they're not your friend. They don't care too much about you if they can do this to you. Again, Eric Echeverria, you are completely wrong. You are completely ill-informed, and I urge you to try to do research on your own. Get away from the right-wing notions that are coming through your way, because the only thing they want is they want an open economy so that the economic system would look good enough on paper, and those people that are losing their shirts at the top can continue to make some money as you pay with your life. Take a look at the charts that show how the lower strata is doing compared to the people who have money. It's shameful. I had that to show you like yesterday, but events happened. Anyhow, there is a good piece that was done on MSNBC by Michael Veschlap. And I said, we got to show this. So let's go ahead and I want to show you this piece because it's an important piece. Check this out. Forget about the election. Let's just talk governance. The irresponsibility of this president has now put our governance in the executive at risk.
Wrong one.
Because now the entire... This one.
Michael, we've had presidents who have not been very forthcoming about health issues. Dwight Eisenhower, John Kennedy, Woodrow Wilson. And so obviously we expect a bit more transparency today than the press used to demand back then. But what are some of the things you think we should be concerned about here?
Well, I think one thing we should be concerned about is we saw a briefing by the president's chief of staff, Mark Meadows, not even bothering to wear a mask after all of this and the disease that's, obviously being unleashed around the White House complex. And he gave a briefing that was cursory, it was brief, it was not very transparent. And my view, Chuck, is that when a president takes the oath of office, he is giving up his right to privacy about a potentially life-threatening illness, which Donald Trump unfortunately has. And that's just part of the job. You don't want to do that, don't run for president. Dwight Eisenhower, as secretive as he had sometimes been, by 1956 he had ileitis, and he told his doctor and his press secretary, say everything. And they had charts. They were even, forgive me for saying this on your program, Chuck, but they announced each time the president had a bowel movement. That hadn't happened before. He wanted total transparency.
Right.
In this day and age, your children and my children, their safety depends on having a president who's 100% able to respond to a disaster or some kind of a military attack. And the other thing is that 1 month from now, our voters are going to vote for or against Donald Trump for re-election. They deserve to know exactly what kind of physical condition he is in, and they certainly deserve to know what kind of treatment he's getting. Mark Meadows told us almost nothing about those two things.
If the decision is made that they worry the president may get incapacitated for a brief period and he decides to hand over powers, is that a decision he just can make on his own? And is it in writing? What is the process of that? Is there a process other than the president saying it?
There is. I mean, the president can do it as Bush did and as Reagan did informally, just a letter to leaders of Congress saying I'm directing that power being given to my vice president as long as I'm, for instance, under anesthesia. Another way of doing it is if a president is incapacitated under the 25th Amendment, which was passed in 1967, the cabinet can meet and they can say, we rule the president incapacitated and power should go to the vice president. That would have been true if the 25th Amendment were in force in 1918 and 1919, when Woodrow Wilson was fighting a pandemic, trying to conceal it and deny it, which killed 675,000 Americans, and at the same time concealing the fact that in 1919 he had a massive stroke and his wife was making a lot of the decisions.
Given where we are, would you assume that at this point the vice president would be isolated, meaning you wouldn't want to have him travel a lot, that you'd almost want him sort of camped at the Naval Observatory at this point?
We have to demand that. I mean, you have the second in line. I mean, the sight of Mark Meadows this morning without a mask was shocking to me. And I do hope that does not suggest that there's casualness about this at the White House, but I've also seen pictures this morning of the president's medical advisor, Scott Atlas, also without a mask. After everything that's happened in the last 24 hours, I can't believe that's happening, but it is. You know, these people, this is not just their lives, our lives, the lives of our children, our future, all depend on how alert and healthy a president is and what kind of a future he and his people have.
That is an important piece. And the last statement that he made there is that these people that are doing these silly things, they don't only affect themselves. If it were themselves alone that they were affecting, hey, let natural selection take care of it. But that's the problem. It's not just these people affecting themselves. Okay, we're at near the halfway part of the show. This is the part where I say, hey guys, please go out there. I wrote a new book, one of my 3 books. This one is called It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors. In these times, I mean, this is what we want to do. This is what we want to do. And here's the link to the book. You can either go ahead and just go to Amazon and look up Egberto Willies, and you'll be able to find all the books that I write, including this one here. But there is a direct link to get to the book. Please consider getting the book. I guarantee you're going to like the book. If you take a look at the reviews, you'll see that. But those of you that are on YouTube, please consider being a part of the family and clicking that join button and become a part of the family. Tomorrow, at some time, I don't have a time yet, I'll put it for all the members. They'll see a message in the YouTube for members that will say, hey, we're going to have sort of a live chat on that particular day where we'll come on and you can tell me just about anything. We'll probably start out with a YouTube chat with with me doing this stuff live, and then we'll probably integrate it with Zoom at another time. But for now, we're going to do a live chat. So if you're on YouTube, you can go ahead and click join and join our posse, join our family. We do a lot of heavy lifting, and you see what Norman tell you? We're working hard. I was up till after 2 yesterday getting all these things put together, including quite a few other stuff. If you are not on YouTube right now, you can click on this link, politicsdoneright.com/YouTube, politicsdoneright.com/YouTube, and you can subscribe there. Alternatively, we're looking for patrons as well. Patrons are another flavor of subscribers that you can be, and that is at politicsdoneright.com/Patreon. That's Patreon, politicsdoneright.com/Patreon. Alternatively, you can support us via PayPal, and that is politicsdoneright.com/PayPal. Now, all our stuff is sold at our store as well. So if you don't want to have a middleman, you can just go ahead and go to our store where you can get our book. The book is It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors. You can also get my weight loss book. I've had weight problems, and this is how I did it to keep my weight within a particular range permanently. It's a way that you'll do it your way. And, of course, the good standard, as I see it, class warfare, the only resort to right-wing doom. And we have things like my T-shirts and all of that for Politics Done Right, things that say, I support independent media. And, of course, you have my cup and other things. And by the way, if you're on YouTube, you can see the products underneath the video as well. So you can just click on it and check out some of our products. That is how you can support us to make sure that we can continue doing what we're doing. And of course, on YouTube, you can give us a super chat. Just click that $sign and give a super chat. Anyway, let's go ahead and get a friend of mine. That decided to come on the show today. He wanted to, if this guy is supporting the left side of the Democratic Party, you know that things are existential, folks. Anyhow, listen to Bernard, and then we'll take it on the other side. Welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Today, we are with Bernard Sampson. He's a National Committee member and Harris County Chair of the Communist Party USA. Bernard, how are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, and thank you for asking. I hope you're doing well as well.
Well, I am doing fine. Communist Party. In America, people are supposed to fear you. Anything that has the word communist or anything that has the word socialist, you're a scary person. Are you a scary person, Bernard?
Oh, I don't think so. Maybe to fascist, maybe to people like Trump, maybe to the far right.
Yeah, because, I mean,
America.
The reason I wanted to have you on is that I've been watching, I watch a lot of what, recently it's mostly online, but watching what a lot of people are doing online. And with all these things that are happening, I've seen a whole lot of groups getting together and getting a whole lot of stuff done. And what I've seen people that identify themselves as communists, people that identify themselves as democratic socialists, people that identify themselves as socialists, and people that identify themselves as Democrats, and some crazy Republicans, because there are a couple of crazy Republicans that come to DSA. And, isn't this what America should really be? Where everybody with their ideologies can somehow merge together?
Well, I don't know. I think that on the left and the progressive movement history of struggle against capitalism, we need to have broader unity, there's no doubt. But I don't think there's a place for the far right and for fascists in this.
Oh yeah, well, when I don't think fascist is a natural thing. In other words, just like I don't think a lot of bad things come naturally. It's always interesting to me, right? Because you remember Gekko on that movie. I don't know if you saw that movie called Wall Street. Gordon Gekko from Wall Street.
A while back, I saw it.
Right. In that movie, Gekko says greed is good. And capitalism is based on that tenet that greed is good. And I've always sat down and wondered, Bernard, if folks are so greedy, how comes there are just a few people at the top? Wouldn't everybody that's greedy be trying to take everything?
There's an old joke There's two workers in front of a factory in England, and the boss drives in on a Rolls Royce. And one worker looks at the other and says, one day we're going to take that from him. Then in the United States, there's two workers in front of a factory. The boss drives in on a Cadillac. One worker looks at the other and says, one day I'm going to have one too. That's the difference in psychology here in the United States compared to most of the world, to some degree. Though that's
Actually, I think it's true. Unfortunately, I was talking to Eleanor Goldfield. She is a real strong activist out there and a filmmaker in Washington, D.C. And she said she's originally from Sweden. And she said, unfortunately, that right-wing cancer is starting to spread to places like Sweden, which had very fairly good social safety nets for their people, etc. What's your thought about the directionality that we have today? Are we surging left or are we surging right?
Well, there's a huge people's movement, and we saw it in the demonstrations against police brutality around George Floyd and Breonna and others. And we also have a movement that's going together of the right wing, of the far right, the militias and the et cetera, the people around Trump. So we have this polarization that's happening in the country. And what is this fight over? You know, people say, well, it's a Democrat versus Republican. Then why are some Republicans supporting the Democrats against Trump? And what I think it is there's a crisis in the United States. There's a crisis in neoliberalism. And what's happened is Trump has come forward and he grabbed, I guess, 33% of the population that Ted Cruz had. And, you know, he took it from them. And he's built a base around that. And what they're saying we no longer need capitalist democracy, the democracy that we have now, which, by the way, as a communist, I don't believe the working class have. I don't believe people of color have ever had it. I think that what we have is democracy is for the rich, for the 1%. Is who democracy is for. They have CNN, they have Fox News, they have their debates.
Bernard, I want, specifically because you are labeled a communist, I want to qualify something that you just said because I think it needs better expansion, but otherwise it will be misinterpreted. You said democracy is for that top 1%. I think what you're really meaning is democracy should be for us all, but in America, the only people that are living under a democracy are the ones at the top. Did I understand you right?
That is correct. That is, I was going to get to that. You're totally correct.
The reason I said that is because I don't know, maybe I heard wrong, but it was sounding like there's democracy, and then in your parlance, there's communism that doesn't believe in democracy. And I think if I understand your form of communism, what that is pure democracy.
Yes, well, people misunderstand. As a Marxist, democracy is a form of the state. And in the world today, you have two types of states. You have capitalist states and you have socialist states. And then you have some states like Venezuela that are going from one to the other. They're transitioning, and it hasn't been decided who's actually going to win which class. And so you have democracy in both, and you have other forms in both types of systems. They can vary from country to country. Our democracy is not the same as the democracy in Germany or England or in the Philippines or Mexico, but they're all capitalist states. And democracy in China is not the same as it is, say, in Cuba, but they're both socialist states. So the state, what is the state? The state are armed bodies of men and women. It's a tool of oppression used by one state or used by one class to suppress another. Under socialism, the state apparatus, the police, the courts, and everything are used to suppress the capitalist class. It's not till you have a communist system, which we won't live to see, where the state itself disappears and people can actually be free. And people misunderstand these things. And most people think that the state is neutral. All you have to do is win the election, and the working class can then take control and then can run things. But the state has never been neutral. The state at one time never existed, and then it existed to justify inequality and some people having more than others. That's why they needed courts, religion, and armed bodies of men and women, so that a few people could keep what was produced. It's only under socialism that that begins to go away, but even that takes a long, long time. So the state is a necessary evil that we have under socialism and under capitalism. It's a necessary, it's necessary for one class to stay in power. So that's a basic belief of communists, that the state is not neutral, it's a tool of oppression. But the form of state can be different. In the United States, bourgeois democracy, capitalist democracy, has been the best form for them to rule. But now there's an argument over it. And Trump is saying, we're going to take away bourgeois democracy. Now, does the working class have democracy? No. The civil rights movement, the right to form unions was never done through the vote. It was done through the struggle. Thousands of people dying, being lynched, going to prison, and being beaten. Every democratic right the working class has made has been through struggle and through the use of violence against us. And we force them to give it to us. And then in the next election, or two elections down, they take it away, just like they're going to do it with the Supreme Court now, against women, against people of color, and against the working class in general. And so this is why I say that the democracy is for the rich. They have total democratic rights. But Trump is saying, we don't need those anymore. We can't afford them anymore. What we have to do is we have to get rid of capitalist democracy. Now, is there a stake for the working class in capitalist democracy and keeping it going? 100%, because it gives us a place where we can struggle and force our class enemies to give us some rights so that we can march, so that we can organize, so that we can fight back and lessen the iron fist that falls on us from the capitalist class. So yes, we have a stake, but it's not the same democracy that would exist under socialism once the working class takes power. Imagine, instead of the police going through the Third Ward, they're going through River Oaks. That would be the difference, and it would be a different police force. So this is the big fight right now, and this is why some Republicans are joining with the Democratic Party to stop Trump, because they don't want to get rid of their democracy. You know, we say we're the people that run this country. We're not going to let you decide that we can't do it. We can decide that the working class can't have it, but you can't tell us. Who do you think you are? So this is what this fight is over. And this is why it's important in what we call a popular front, where the left organizes with a sector of the capitalist class against the far right, against fascism. Our lives are at stake. Everything is at stake in this election. This is the most important election since the Civil War. And it's the closest we've come to civil war since 1861.
So you're saying that this alliance that you have with all the different all people of many different left ideologies coming together to take out the right, that is actually existential.
Yes. You know, how does 1% rule over 99%? They split people through forms of racism, homophobia, sexism, etc. And they have us fighting among ourselves. But we also need to take advantage of differences among the ruling class, among our class enemies. And so when certain capitalists go with Biden and others go with Trump, we need to unite with those people because we're not strong enough on our own. The left, the working class is not strong enough to take power on its own. If it was, there would be a working class third party that would be strong enough to do it. And there's not.
They sure have. Everything is rigged against that third party. Okay, for the person who's going to look at you and say, okay, you represent the Communist Party. Let's look for examples. Let's look at Russia. Let's look at Cuba. Let's look at these places where communism seemed to have failed. What's the answer that you give them? If that's not really the definition of communism, that was just simply an aberration, or what?
Well, the first thing I'd look at is the United States. If you want to see how capitalism has failed, you're looking at it, living through it right now. As far as Cuba is concerned, you know, it's 90 miles off our coast, and there's been a U.S. embargo on Cuba since its existence. And yet, it's given free housing to trans members, to trans people. It's given free healthcare, free education. They export doctors all around the world. And their standard of living could be higher if we lifted that blockade against them. And so I'd say Cuba is a great success. And let's not compare Cuba to the United States. Let's compare Cuba to Ecuador, to Salvador, etc., where there's death squads, where there's squalor, where people have to flee and come here to even live. So I would say Cuba is a great example considering the conditions. As far as the Soviet Union was concerned, I lived there for a year in 1981. And I can tell you that after the Soviet Union fell, and this was a coup from inside, that after the Soviet Union fell, every single poll showed the majority of the people wanting the Soviet Union back. And in the first elections that Yeltsin ran, the Communist Party defeated him, but those elections were stolen. So yes, there's mistakes that are made under socialism, there's no doubt. There's mistakes made because people are people, and we make
Wait,
mistakes.
do you call Russia socialist or communist, and likewise Cuba?
Today,
Yeah.
today,
No, no, no,
Russia,
not today. The Russia of '81.
oh, of course, it was a socialist state. Cuba's a socialist state as well.
So what would be the difference if they were? You call them socialist and not communist?
No, no, there are no communist states. There cannot be one. You see, the
Because
capital,
there's a state.
yes, excellent. That's exactly correct. Communism is the elimination of the state. It's a much higher degree, and you can't have that as long as there's capitalism in the world, because there's a threat, an external threat, as well as an internal threat. So you still need the state for
So
suppression.
you actually share something in common with libertarians as far as wanting to be as stateless as possible. Am I right?
Well, that's an interesting way to put it.
Well,
I
I
have
mean, actually, they claim they want the government out, and they want laissez-faire, whatever. It almost sounds like, you know.
It's not the same thing. Libertarians want
Oh,
the
I know.
government.
I am playing devil's advocate here.
Oh, yes, no, it's not the same
I
thing.
understand the concepts. I just have to play the devil's advocate.
No, I totally understand. Well, what do humans want throughout society? What people want is freedom. That's what they want. And freedom is, what is freedom? It's where you're not compelled to have to do things. Under capitalism and under socialism, you still have to go to work, you still have to obey laws, etc. And so compulsion is still part of life. So you can't be free. That's the real definition of freedom. And freedom won't exist until communism and the state, the tool of oppression, disappears. The question is, who's oppressing who? When the 99% are oppressing the 1%, and they're doing that to stop them from coming back into power, that's democratic, because 99% are running the country for the first time. That's never happened in history except briefly in some of the socialist states and in the Paris Commune.
Now, there are concepts, and then there's reality. All right. So let's build a city. Let's build a city. How do we build a city under the purity of communism as you see it?
Well, I can't really say about that on communism because it's hundreds of years in the future. We only know some certain basic things.
I know, but still, it's a concept that you understand.
I could say under socialism because it's been done. I mean, Brasilia, the capital of Brazil, most of that city was designed by Brazilian communists, the architecture, everything. And in the Soviet Union, cities were built from scratch under socialism. And what do these buildings have? When I lived there, if you were a worker, you generally lived across the street from the factory you worked at. And the apartment complex would have a free daycare for your children, so your wife could work as well. And the rent was maybe 3% of your income. What's the percentage of your income you pay now here in the United States for your rent? There it was about 3%. Plus, you couldn't even be expelled from your house if you didn't pay the rent. It would take it up at your local union and try to shame you. Only if you were a traitor or something like that could you actually be expelled, because their constitution, it's a human right to have a home. It's a human right to have health care. It's a human right to have a job. It's a human right to have a free education.
Now, what I was really trying to get at is where we talk about having controls, right? We can independently build a skyscraper. We can independently do those things. How do we build the roads and so forth in that stateless state?
Well, again, under communism, I don't know. You have to understand that even socialism inherits everything that capitalism had, and it has to begin to solve it. I like to say that that bourgeois rights, like that we called for in the Bill of Rights and in the Constitution, doesn't really exist for the vast majority of the population. Under socialism, bourgeois rights will now be recognized and enforced by law. And under communism, you just can't say. I mean, communism is something in the future that won't come into existence until there's enough produced and the distribution is democratic to where everybody can have stuff and there's no shortages. I mean, right now, under capitalism, because of the advance in technology under capitalism, we're able to actually create enough food to feed everyone in the world. So why do people starve? Because of the system of capitalism, because there's not a profit in the distribution. You see, we eliminate that. So capitalism sets up the basis through its techniques and its amount of production to give enough to where there is no scarcity under socialism. And
Okay, Bernard, we're going to be wrapping up in a little bit, but I want to get some clarification here. You're the chair nationally of the Communist Party United States, not the Socialist Party USA.
No.
Tell me what is it that having a distinct party, not necessarily a party, but an organization labeling itself communist, as opposed to some merge with an organization that's labeling themselves socialist?
Well, we're proud to be communists, and we're proud of the role that communists have played in history in fighting against capitalism. I don't think there's any organization that has done what we've done, has given up the lives, people gone to prison from China to South America. No one has done as much as us. We're a Marxist-Leninist party. We're for socialism. We're at a stage right now where we're not able to achieve it, but the party is growing under Trump. You know, we're right now the largest actual party, left party in the United States, because DSA is not actually a party. We're between 9,000 and 10,000 members, and we're growing. Here in Texas, we have over 1,100 members, and we're growing everywhere. And the Communist Party is unique. It's different from DSA, from the Socialist Party, from the Revolutionary Communist Party, or Socialist Alternative, in that we work in the mass movements. And when I say we work in the mass movements, it doesn't mean we go to a demonstration and support. What it means is we are part of those organizations that do the demonstrations. We belong to within the trade union movement and within the civil rights movement. Plus, unlike any other left party, we're the most diverse party. Here in Houston, a third of our membership are people of color. Actually, closer to 2/3. On the exec, I'm the only white person on the exec in the Communist Party here in Houston. And that's how it should be. And that's because you have to organize the people that are the most oppressed under capitalism. It's very important. And you know, right now we have one goal, and that's defeat Trump. There's nothing more important in the next 30 days than stopping fascism from coming to the United States. And I'm not for voting for a third party or sitting out the election. To me, that does not help defeat Trump. You know, if you want to vote your conscience, wait till there's a less important election, in my own personal opinion. Let's unite. Let's work with Democrats. Let's work with anybody that's opposing Trump at this election. Because at this stage, if Trump wins, what does it mean for the trade union movement? What does it mean for civil rights? You know, if you want to see how bad things can get, you know, go back to the South. If you're a black person in the 30s and 40s, that's what it's going to be like for everyone, white, black, and Hispanic, if Trump wins. And nobody should kid themselves. This is not the same as fighting against Reagan. It's not the same as fighting against Bush. And yes, I don't think that, you know, there's anything perfect about Biden, but he beat Bernie Sanders. It doesn't matter how he did it. It's a fact. Biden is the only person that can defeat, and he's the tool we've been given by the DNC. Thank you, DNC. But he's the tool we've been given to stop fascism. So it's not up to Biden, it's up to us, up to the people. It's not up to the Democratic Party. It's up to the masses, to the trade unionists, to the civil rights workers, to go out there, to register to vote and get out there and vote. But not just vote, but to also organize in the streets and in your unions and your mass organizations. And when we get Biden elected, the struggle doesn't stop. But the question is, who would you rather oppose in the next 4 years, Biden or Trump? You may not even be able to physically stop and organize against Trump if he wins. It could be the last election in U.S. history. This is very important, and people should understand that everyone needs to organize and win this election.
Bernard Sampson, as a Bernie Democrat, you are a friend. I'm talking politically now. You're a friend, not political as well. But I tell you, every Bernie Democrat, every DNC Democrat, every type of Democrat should be honored to have you as a friend, because you do hard work in the community. You put yourself all over this community, and I have seen the work that you've done. So keep up the good work. It's been my pleasure to have you on Politics Done Right. Bernard Sampson, National Committee member and Harris County Chair of Communist Party USA.
And Egberto, I read your book. It's fantastic. I recommend everybody watching this read your book. It's a fantastic book.
Thank you so kindly, brother.
Thank you.
All right, folks, I hope you like that. Listen, before I forget, today's date is October 2nd. Those people that are in Texas right now, you have until Monday to register to vote. But I'm going to tell you, go register today. Go register, pull the thing down online at harrisvotes.org, I think it is. But go ahead and register to vote. It is very important that we have a landslide. And what I mean by a landslide, there are two things here. If you can go to the grocery store on your own, in Harris County, Texas, and as it is all over the country, there are a lot of places that are going to be open early to vote where you can beat the lines. Do it. Do it. Go vote. I am not, the bell was me being bounced out. Oh, no, I don't think so. Anyhow, look, folks, so please go ahead and register to vote. In Texas, you have until Monday. Register to vote now. It is existential, as many have said. I've clear your pages block list. Okay, wow, I didn't realize I had a page block list that blocked anybody. I'll look for it and make sure that I'll clean it out. Thank you for giving me that advice, Michael Rudnin. Anyhow, I need to salute you beautiful people. Bernard Sampson, welcome aboard. Michael Rudnin, welcome aboard. Paul Fleming, welcome aboard. Bridge MCP, welcome aboard. The Duck That Quacks, welcome aboard. Let's see who else is here. Zen Anderson, welcome aboard. Paul Fleming. Paul, you had said something that scrolled by that I wanted to see. I think you said something to the effect of how right is too right. No right is too right. Because, first of all, Paul, I hear what you say. You're not really like right. You're a conservative. You're a good conservative, brother. So, I mean, you know what, you know, the ridiculously right is the kind of right that gets people killed because of misinformation. I think you are, and this is just from seeing some of the messages you put out there, I think you're an informed conservative mostly. There are times that you come out with stuff you get from Fox News that makes absolutely no sense in my humble opinion, and we can we discuss those issues. Let's see, who else is here? Troy Astro, bienvenido hermano. Let's see, I think I called out Zen Anderson already. Who else is here? Mike, let's see, New York TE13. I think that's what that means. ARKINYTE 113. Welcome aboard. Lee Grant. There you are. Lee Grant. Just how far right are we allowed to be? I think I answered that. Hope Bleeker. Thank you for giving us that movie. I want to read what Hope said because, as usual, our people inform us. So the message that Hope placed that I wanted to read over. Oh, wow. Where is it? I think it's important that we know that today is the anniversary. Thank you, Hope Bleeker, for this. And this is what she said. Today is the 45th anniversary of the Vietnam War. No mention of this anywhere except for Jane Fonda on Greenpeace. No mention in mainstream media nowhere. God bless our veterans. And this is why we have community. This is why we have alternative media. This is why we have independent media. Because you, in this case, Hope, you are able to come and institute within the knowledge space something that needed to be put forth. Thank you, Hope, because I'll be frank, if you hadn't put that, I wouldn't be talking about it either. So thank you so kindly for putting that into our sphere. Norman Reynolds, welcome aboard, my brother. Hope you're enjoying your little vacay, bro. I need one right now. Let's see who else is here. If I miss you, just drop another line and I'll call you out. You know, I like to acknowledge absolutely everybody. Tank 28 still causing trouble, but welcome aboard, Tank. Paul Fleming, welcome aboard. Bruce Pollard, this is an important message from Bruce. By the way, all the messages that you guys put are important, but some of them kind of hit me that I have to kind of repeat. Bruce says a friend's 17-year-old daughter got it working outside a Chick-fil-A, been in bed for a week. She got COVID from somebody on the outside. You know, Chick-fil-A walks. It's a fast food place here, and she got the disease, COVID-19, from somebody on the outside. She's been in bed for a week. She's 17 years old. I don't look, whether you're on the right or otherwise, people, I love you all and we should all love each other. Let's not allow those crazies to get us hurt. That's what we do. So Eric Echeverria, you notice your name is plastered in my brain because I feel like you are going to get hurt the way you talk. And I don't want you to get hurt because we have a ridiculously somebody that cares nothing about humanity as president. I don't want you to get hurt, brother. Okay, let's continue. Michael Joshua, thank you for the super chat. Michael just gave us a super chat. Love you, brother. Thank you. Hey, follow Michael and either click that join button to join us on Facebook or go ahead and give us a super chat. That is how we get things done, folks. That is how we can continue doing this. So simple. Hit the dollar sign. Give me the super chat. And by the way, for those of you that are currently not on YouTube, if you want to join YouTube, because tomorrow I'm going to have a little special talk with you guys, just you guys that joined on YouTube, just go ahead. I'm going to put the link in there. It is YouTube, or rather, politicsdoneright.com/YouTube. Politicsdoneright.com/YouTube. We'll have a real chat just between you and me on that channel. So please go ahead. Hey, Latanya Withington, my good friend. Marijuana, mi corazón, ¿cómo estás? All right. But yeah, friends, please go ahead right now and click that join button so that we can have fun tomorrow. Sometime I'll leave a message in there. So join us, join us, join us. Again, so thank you so kindly. Again, Michael Joshua says, welcome to support. Hey, Michael Joshua just became a new member. Thank you, Michael Joshua, for becoming. Michael just did a dupleta. He became a member and he also gave a super chat. That's what I'm talking about. Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. You're helping us do the good work. I have great contributors in this place. I have the Michael Rudnins, I got the Bridge MCPs, I've got the Norman Reynolds, I've got the Hope, we've got so many supporters. Oh, and big supporter, we're talking about Bruce Pollard. Bruce is not only a supporter of Politics Done Right here, he's also a supporter of KPFT 90.1 FM. Bruce puts his money where his mouth is. He supports us in this independent endeavor, and he supports us at KPFT 90.1 to ensure that Houston continues to have independent media. Let me tell you, our democracy is going to be a democracy if we keep it. It's not going to be the plutocracy that's supporting it. It's going to be us who have to support our own democracy. And I thank you guys, all of you that support us monetarily, all of you that support us by sharing. There are a lot of ways that you can support. We do need the money, but we also need the support from sharing, talking about the show, and giving us some more penetration to people where we can give all these ideas to. You guys are wonderful. Let me go down to the bottom to see if there's any last messages I need to talk about. Egberto, FB, you can't post or comment for 24 hours this because 2 of your previous posts didn't follow our community. Who said that? Who gave you that? Who said that? Is that for who? Who can't post? Is that you who can't post, Breach? That's not good. I am going to see. Send me an example of that message that they sent you, Breach. The email is info@politicsdoneright.com. Info@politicsdoneright.com. Send me the message that they send you. I don't understand what's going on there. Okay, we have to get out of here. I thank you so kindly. I know you could be anywhere else. Oh, let me lastly, before I go, just put the link to our book one more time in there. And that is to how you get our, whoops, come on, Egberto, you know better than that. We go like that. And anyway, that is how you can get the book at Amazon.com. If you can't click on that link, just go ahead and go to Amazon.com and look for Egberto Willies, and you get to our book. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you know how I end this baby. I am what? Out! We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead, number one, subscribe to our channel, and number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.